You're listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network. It's the TuAmigos Podcast with Carter and Jorge at DolphinsTalk.com.
Welcome to the TuAmigos. It has been it feels like years now. My name is Carter and Melrose, and we're back in studio. Well, over the internet. I don't know if that counts as a studio. And I am with Jorge, my co-host. Welcome back. We again get renewed after, what seems to be like every year our boss goes, I'm not sure Tua is going to be the quarterback next year, so we might have to reassess the namesake of this podcast. But baby, it feels so good to be back for season 3, I think.
It is actually our third season. No writer's strike here, no actor strike here. So
yeah,
I'm hoping our ratings will reflect that you have nothing else to watch or see or listen to except us.
Except us, baby. And I'll tell you this too. Like, I don't want to do this preamble. You know how like podcasts go on for 15 minutes about their personal life or whatever like that. I only want to say one thing because I know how boring it can be when podcasters talk about their life. But this has been if you're a TuAmigos listener, you know this has been a big deal for us. I got a girlfriend, Jorge.
Oh my God, this has to be the Dolphins year.
Has to be the Dolphins year.
I'm so happy for you. I'm so concerned for her.
Oh, okay. That's not a good way to be happy for me.
I'm kidding. I'm very happy for you, man. She's very lucky to have you. She's the lucky one in this relationship.
Okay. Yeah, okay, maybe you're being sarcastic now. I'm
really not. I'm being honest.
So, yeah, the running bit in this thing is Jorge has always been in a committed relationship ever since we started this show, basically.
Yes.
And he's currently engaged now, right?
I am. Yes, we just got engaged a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, we're not going to go too far into our personal lives, but I do want to hear at least how you did it. I got to hear that at least,
Yeah, so we went to dinner to this restaurant that's very special for both of us, for different reasons. And the cover story was that we were having dinner with my brother. We finished having dinner. He got up from the table, stood behind her with a camera phone, ready to take pictures. The pianist started playing her favorite song. They brought out her favorite champagne. I got on one knee, popped the question. She said yes.
Romance.
So yes.
Can I tell you how I asked my girlfriend to be my girlfriend?
Please go ahead.
So I got down on my all fours, and then I started to beg, and I cried and she said no, and I said, "Oh, please, please, I need this." I screamed, "I need this," and then yeah, she came around because she knew how much it meant to me. But no, Jorge, like I said, this is just a big year for love for us, and honestly,
yes.
The Dolphins could also be a big year for us. So in that facet, as a kind of a terrible segue, what's your just overall inklings for this season, Jorge? What's your first inklings for the Dolphins season?
Look, I think it's gonna be the best Dolphin season I've seen in my lifetime.
Oh, okay.
Considering my first ever Dolphins game that I remember was Dan Marino getting retired by the Jacksonville Jaguars after a trouncing in the playoffs.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
definitely expect the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bare minimum for me right now.
Bare minimum. Mm-hmm.
I am expecting a playoff win. I don't think this team is on the verge of winning the Super Bowl. I think this team is on the verge of competing to get into the Super Bowl.
Okay. So you're thinking AFC Championship
That's
is
what
not
I'm
out of the
thinking.
question.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
Right. And then maybe a year from today, we're looking at more of a Super Bowl team next year, you're thinking.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
Okay, well, honestly, that is very, very positive coming into this. And I don't know if I'm there quite yet. I need to see it. I just need to see it. But especially coming into week 1, I really just want to see what's the difference, okay? Because I want to start up this podcast with the one debate I had, and then we could go into the fluffy stuff where we say, how excited we are for the Dolphins. But here's
Sounds great.
my one worry, Jorge. Okay, and I know you'll talk me out of this because you're the positive Nelly on this squad. But here's my one worry. When I look at this team's roster, right, it's not better than it was last year. I'm not sure it's here. Okay, here's my only worry. Okay, Gesicki's gone. Not that we used him much, right?
Okay.
We haven't improved the offensive line, right? We didn't add a piece that really makes you feel better about yourself. The tight end situation is arguably, in my opinion, same or worse.
Okay.
And then I would just say, I mean, defense, we add Ramsey, but then we lose him to that injury. So I don't really know what the difference is between this year's and last year's team. Can you tell me why to be optimistic? What's changed?
All right. First of all, I'm gonna go, unit by unit. So on the offense, this is the first time Tua is gonna have the same offensive system since high school.
Okay, fair.
So every year for him has been learning.
True.
Last year was learning. This year's improving.
Okay.
All right. So I think that's
fair. That's fair.
That's an important factor. Second of all, you didn't mention Trent Sherfield among the people that we lost, and I think we're going to miss him more than Gesicki, but I'll get into that.
No, Trent, that's a problem too.
I will say this. I think I do think that we're going to see a much improved offensive line because of coaching.
Okay.
I think Coach Barry, I've seen the offensive line in the preseason. They've looked good to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not a scout, I'm not an expert, but I think they're going to look good. Second point there, I do think that Isaiah Wynn is going to be a much better left guard than Liam.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting Austin Jackson back from injury.
Mm-hmm.
And he had looked a bit promising before going on injury last year.
True.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's also, they're repeating the system for the first time in the offensive line. It was new to the system last year. They are repeating that. I think we have, Braxton Berrios, I think is going to be a much better slot receiver than Trent did, looking for those soft spots on the defense.
Yep, that's true.
I think he's going to complement Jalen and Tyreek better than Trent did in that aspect. I think that's my reason for optimism on the offense.
Sure.
On the defense, we lost our worst contributor on defense
in
Coach Boyer.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's fair. That is fair. That's fair.
We're getting probably a top 2 or top 3 defensive coordinator in the NFL in Coach Fangio, who brings, by the way, a bunch of experience. He got Reynaldo Hill, which is a huge get for this defense. We got, Bradley Chubb is going back to the system where he was, basically an all-pro. Christian Wilkins has improved every year. Jalen Phillips has improved every year, and he finished the year playing like a damn Pro Bowler. Kader Kehu, who was, undrafted last year, is going to his second year. We've got better depth on the defensive backs. I think we've got better safety play. My one unit where I'm concerned, where I really don't see an improvement, is in special teams. Now, there I'm a bit concerned.
And we were bad. We were really bad.
We were really bad. We were really bad last year. Absolutely. I do think that we're going to see growth from Coach McDaniel. He was a rookie head coach last year. He made a lot of mistakes. I was reading the Herald this morning talking about, Frank Smith saying, we made a lot of, snap penalties, pre-snap penalties. We took a lot of time in getting the play in. We've improved that. We've streamlined the process for the challenges. So, that was in Barry Jackson's column this morning. So I do expect to see an improvement from the team. And I mean, this offense was top 10 last year, right?
Yeah.
Almost top 5
when
Tua was in. When Tua was in, this offense was basically top 3 in the NFL.
Not every time.
Not every time, but
most of the time.
Throughout the time, right? Yeah.
Sure.
Now, if you have a defense that can actually carry their weight, because a bunch of games last year we lost because the defense couldn't hold on to a fourth quarter lead.
That's true.
All right. So if we improve that, logic dictates that if the defense stops losing us games and the offense is status quo as last year, and I think that's the case, then I think we have to say that this team is going to be better overall.
Okay, so I love the optimism of what you're saying, and I think it has at least cooled my nerves a little bit. But I still have this weird underlying feeling that when I look at, let's say, the team on paper, when you look at the team on paper, at least I don't, and I wouldn't disagree with you if you had a different opinion. If I look at the depth chart on paper, I always go, I'm not sure that is much different than last year. The only thing that can account for better, and this is just how the NFL works, the only thing that can account for better in the NFL is if players improve. And I really hope that we're going to get a new Jalen Phillips, like a monster Jalen Phillips this year. I hope that we're going to get Javon Holland, that Pro Bowler, that All Pro that everyone talks about he is. I hope that we're going to get those improvements out of those players, because if we don't, I still am sticking to my guns that on paper, this team doesn't feel much different. The one thing I will say that the argument cannot be understated is Fangio. You're right. He's a top 3 guy. He's a top 3 defensive coordinator, and just schematically changing from Boyer to Fangio should just utilize these players better. I've also heard, though, that Fangio doesn't feel like this is not the defense he normally constructs. That's the only thing that I'm like, is he going to get the most out of these players if he wouldn't have even acquired these players in the first place? It's one of those things where you're like, well, he didn't like our safeties. He hated both of them. I don't think he hated Holland, but he definitely hated our other safeties.
I've got to ask this. Where are you getting this from?
I'm getting this information from some of his press conferences where he would say stuff like, this team isn't necessarily like, I didn't draft this team. I didn't choose this team, or like these positions. So there's my type of players I still need to get. He said that in press conferences before in probably more sensitive ways. Like, he's not straight up saying like, these are shit players or whatever, but he's definitely said that before. And that's why he had to go get Ramsey, had to get more corners that match his build. And I don't know, but that's the only thing I'm going to say is that I really just want to see how Fangio does with this defense that he really didn't construct. The other thing I want to say is that no, I'm actually good. I'm good. I think you said the positive things. I said the things that are still in my heart. Do you have a follow up on that, or do you want to move on?
I have a little bit of a follow up
Okay, sure.
Just because I don't agree with your interpretation of what Fangio has said.
Okay, sure.
I've heard him talk about Cam Smith and about, I still can't trust him out there, and he's a rookie, and that's why he says it. But I've seen him speak, very well of our linebackers. They love what Van Ginkel's doing, who's going to be a second teamer. They love having Chubb and Phillips there. The defensive line, it has a serious depth problem, but outside of that, I think it can be a good unit. They love Holland. I think Savian is going to do well in this system.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't share that, negative impressions of what Fangio has said so far.
Yeah, no, I'm just always, like I said, like this is, if I've ever had a bad girlfriend, it's the Miami Dolphins. So I'm never going to trust them until they treat me well. And that's just how you should treat the Miami Dolphins situation. I agree that this is probably the best situation the Dolphins have been in the last 15 years. And if you're really excited for the season, I'm not telling you to not be excited, but I'm telling you to, until they prove to you they're not going to disappoint you, you can't be all in. You can't be all emotional about this because we've seen it before. Okay, so here is my first, our first little segment of the year. And I call it, hold on, let me see what I call it. Is this it's called Bad Opinions or Hard Truths. And you're going to tell me what it is, Jorge. Here's the first one. So most of the sports books have us as a 52% chance to make the playoffs, which is about a coin flip. Also, okay. Peter King, who we all know Peter King, says we missed the playoffs, right? That's one of his one of his hard stances. He cites the idea that the AFC is too strong and our schedule is way too hard for us to make the playoffs. What are your thoughts? Is that a cold, is that a hard truth, or is that what is the other one I used? Is that a cold truth or a bad opinion or a hard truth?
I think it's a bad opinion.
Okay, let's hear why.
I think people are underestimating, the losses the Bills had. I think the Jets are going to be better than people think, but I think we are better than the Jets.
I think so too.
So, as I said, for me, the expectation is definitely playoffs. If we don't go to the playoffs, then people need to be fired for sure. And I don't
True.
say that lightly.
No, you don't.
But I think the Dolphins are going to go to the playoffs. I think the Dolphins are. Here's where I stand on this. I think the Dolphins are more likely to be the AFC East champion than miss the playoffs.
That's a statement. That's a statement right there. That might be in the description today of this podcast. You think they're closer to the AFC championship than missing the playoffs?
The AFC East championship.
Oh, AFC East championship, which honestly is still a profound statement, Jorge.
Yes, I do think we're going to get to the AFC championship, but I do think we're closer. We're more likely to win the AFC East than we are to miss the playoffs.
And honestly, though, like this take that Peter King has is actually a popular take amongst most sports shows, TikTok stars. Everyone thinks that this Miami Dolphins team is like, oh, it's so sexy on paper, but they're so thin. That's kind of like what everyone thinks. It's like, if Tyreek Hill goes down, I'm not sure how the fuck they're going to make the playoffs. That is like what people think about the Dolphins.
So, I mean, let's put it, from another team, if Tua misses if Tua misses time, if Burrow misses time, the Bengals are in trouble, right? If Jamar Chase misses time, the Bengals are in trouble.
But I think if Jamar Chase misses time, the Bengals still make the playoffs.
I think if Tyreek Hill misses time, the Dolphins still make the playoffs.
I agree, but I just don't think the public thinks that. You know what I mean?
I mean, I get it, but if you hear the arguments, I do believe there's a double standard, right? The Dolphins season relies on Tua having a full season. First of all, the concussions were not related to any previous injury. Tua had never had concussion issues until last year.
Yeah.
All right. They've taken the steps to prevent that from happening again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
So then we can say that the concussion issues should not be recurring.
That yes. I mean, yeah. Theoretically.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me one team, any team in the AFC East or in the AFC in general, who can lose a quarterback for say 5 games and be okay.
There are a couple of teams, but those teams need to have, top 3 defenses, right?
But who are those teams though?
I honestly think that if Rodgers went down, I think the Jets still get a wild card.
Really?
I think so.
With Zach Wilson.
I'm sure. I think they were pretty close with such shit talent last year. They were so close already. What were they? One game out?
I think they were 1 game out. Yeah.
Yeah. I honestly think they probably could. I think that the Chiefs probably could if Travis Kelce's healthy. But there's not a lot of teams.
Okay. Perfect. So you're saying only the Jets can do it, basically. So you're saying the Jets are better equipped to be without their starting quarterback than the Dolphins?
Yes, just because of the defense. My point is that I think the Dolphins are better than the Jets. However, that defense allows them to be in any game regardless of who is at quarterback.
I think you're underestimating how good the Dolphins defense should be this year.
Do you think they're going to be Jets level?
I think they're going to be better than the Jets level.
That's controversial, my guy. That's controversial. Even without Jalen Ramsey, or you're saying when he comes back?
Even without Jalen Ramsey. I think when Jerry Ramsey comes back, this defense is instantly top 2 in the league.
Okay, I like it. I hope that's the case. I just know for a fact that on paper the Jets were one of the best. I think they were number 1. Were they number 1 last year or 2?
But did you see the quarterbacks they beat though?
Yeah. That, I mean, it's true. But like, how many points did The Dolphins, did Tua play the Jets at all last year? I'm trying to think of the injuries.
No, Tua did not play. They
He didn't play
beat
the Jets
Sky.
at all.
It was a Teddy Bridgewater game where he got injured in the first play, and then Skylar came in.
He didn't play the second one.
The second one was Skylar Thompson, who beat them, by the way.
Okay, I can't go through the Jets schedule in my head, but sure, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
I think you're underestimating the Dolphins defense mostly, not so much, overestimating the Jets.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, here's the next one on the list because this is going to go more into Tua, and we kind of touched on him already, so I might as well. Bad opinion or hard truth? Tua is ranked the 12th best quarterback, kind of on aggregate over the over most websites. This is fantasy football, but this is also just experts, analysts rating quarterbacks overall. He's ranked 12th overall, and on CBS, they cite it's because they have a small sample size. He's a wild card in that way. And, of course, his injury history is always going to be listed. Bad opinion or hard truth?
I think having seen Tua be number one in basically any major stat while he was healthy last year, if you just look at the quality of play, it's ridiculous to have him outside of the top 10. That being said, the best ability is availability, and Tua needs to prove that he can play for the whole season.
So 12's not bad, you don't think?
That's my answer.
Okay. Yeah, And that honestly, that's fair. We are a Tua-based podcast, but before last season, before he had that string of first place, performances, QBR wise, and before he beat the Ravens with a six touchdown performance, I was looking in the mirror. I was defending Tua left and right, but I was still looking in the mirror at night thinking, I don't know if I even have the sample size to say for a fact that he was a franchise guy before last season. After last season, it's kind of crazy because we're still in that realm where it's almost the RG3 realm, where he's only had like 14 or 15 games under his belt that I said are good or great games, which RG3 had one good season, tore his ACL, and then was never the same, right? So I still don't know for a fact that these injuries and this sample size thing is pointing at him being like a 10-year starter or whatever it is going to be. So I'm still a little worried, and I think that's why 12 overall is probably pretty great for him because the AFC has like no good quarterbacks. The NFC has, the AFC has, it's very top heavy, but the NFC doesn't have a lot of good quarterbacks. 12 seems pretty good for me. 12 does.
Yeah, it's okay.
I think it's not that big of a deal, and
but so what I'm trying to say is I understand why he's 12, but I will say this: I don't think there's 11 quarterbacks better than Tua in the National Football League.
Yeah, that's the thing. If Tua's going to play like he did last season for that stretch, he's like a top 7 guy, top 6 guy.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
If he's going to have all these question marks all the time, then he's top 12. Okay. Yeah. So let's go into our season award prediction, and this should just be off the top of your head. We can go pretty quickly on this. Who is your team MVP overall? What just popped into your head, Jorge? Who do you think?
Jalen Phillips.
Jalen Phillips. Okay. And how many sacks do you think he's getting?
And he's getting 18.
He's getting 18, which would be up there with a lot of like Jason Taylor seasons.
Yeah.
Or Jason Taylor best seasons.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, honestly, that's fair. To be honest, I was going to go Jalen Phillips as well, just because of the things you're hearing out of camp about this guy. So I'm not sure I'm going to go 18 high, but what do you think?
I'm going to tell you why. I was lucky enough to interview Jalen Phillips after the loss to Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to a number of players in the locker room and so on. And I can tell you that from my perspective, the 2 players that were the most impressive to me were Javon Holland and Jalen Phillips. And the way Jalen Phillips spoke about that loss and about where he wanted to be next year, I was ready to run through a wall for him. That's how I'm going to put it. I mean, he was so mature, so centered, so aware of where they came up short and what they needed to do to improve. And honestly, I see him as Devon Miller in Vic Fangio's scheme.
Okay, I mean that's that. Yeah, I mean chills. I'm on board on that as well. Okay, offensive player of the year.
I think it's going to be Jalen Waddle.
You think it's gonna be Waddle? Okay,
This is my bold
yeah,
prediction. I put on Twitter. It's Waddle's going to finish the season as their wide receiver number one, as their number one wide receiver
as our number one.
over Tyreek. Yeah.
That is bold. That is very, very bold. I do not agree with that. I think Tyreek Hill is still the better. He's the alpha on this team. Even if he isn't a better wide receiver, like even if Waddle is a better wide receiver this year, it's still not going to matter because Tyreek's the alpha. But that would be fun. Honestly, that would be fun. What do you think most improved?
Most improved, I'm going to go with Austin Jackson.
Austin Jackson. Okay, so you're optimistic, obviously.
Yeah, I am.
Okay. All right, Austin Jackson, and then the unlikely award, sort of like the player that you never expected to do well, but he did. He did kind of he did like show up.
Jason Sanders.
Jason Sanders. Okay, there you go. Honestly, that's the one we all want that answer to be. If we're losing by field goals last year, we were ready to crucify that guy. So I'm hoping that he can have that unlikely award by the end of the season. Okay, we're going to move on to the next and last thing before we talk about the Chargers game, because of course this is a preview show every single week, so we got to do a little bit of the preview. But we're going to do our game-by-game, quick, off-the-dome predictions, game-wise. And I want to see what Jorge's, record prediction is at the end of this. Chargers.
Win.
Patriots.
Win.
Sorry, at Patriots, 2.
Yep.
At home versus the Broncos.
Win.
At Buffalo.
Yeah. I'm gonna say loss just because it's away, but I think we can come away with a win. I think we've lost the fear of playing in Buffalo.
Okay, 3-1. At home versus Giants.
Win.
At home versus the Panthers.
Win.
In Philadelphia, and this will be Sunday Night Football.
I think that's gonna be a loss, but a great game.
I think so too. And my friend is an Eagles fan, so we're gonna be in the same room. For the whole thing, getting drunk. Let's do Patriots at home.
Win.
Chiefs on the road. Well, actually,
Win.
That's in Germany.
Yeah, win.
Okay. Raiders at home.
Win.
Jets on the road.
I think that's a win.
Commanders.
No, I think that's a I think that's going to be a loss. Put a loss there.
That's a loss.
Yeah.
Commanders on the road.
Win.
Titans at home.
Win.
Jets at home.
Win.
Cowboys at home.
I think that's going to be a hell of a game on Christmas.
That's on Christmas. Yeah, Christmas Eve.
I'm going to say I think that's going to be a loss. I think that the Dallas defense is going to be a bit overwhelming.
Okay. Ravens on the road.
I think that's going to be a loss.
Okay. And then Bills at home.
I think that's going to be a win.
Okay, so if I track that correctly, you're at 12-5.
Yeah, 12-13. Yeah, that's been my estimate all year long.
Okay, yeah, and honestly, I mean anything over 10 games, I just don't want to sweat a wild card anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was the fucking worst. Last year when we were winning, we won all those games in a row and then lost a ton at the end of the season and had to sweat that wild card. That was my least favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
So 12 games would be a non-sweat situation in week 17.
Yeah.
I think that I'm on board with 12 wins, but I kind of look at 11 wins as more of a realistic situation. 10 or 11 wins.
Fair enough.
The final thing, Chargers, Dolphins. You just talked about how the Dolphins are going to win in 2 days. What is your how do you see this game going? And what are things that you're going to be looking for in this game?
I think number one is are the Dolphins focused on winning or are they focused on taking revenge from last year?
Yeah, that's true.
I think the discipline is going to be big. I want to see the calls coming in sooner. I want to see the team being able to line up with 10 seconds to go or more. Not with 3 seconds like we did last year. I want to see a consistent effort on the run game and a consistent play calling on the run game. And I'm excited to see the defense. I'm excited to see this defense confound Justin Herbert and their new offensive coordinator over there.
Yeah, what I love about week one is that, especially for Fangio, this situation with Fangio, is that he has had months, like 4 or 5 months, just to game plan for Justin Herbert. You know what I mean? And so week one of an NFL season is, you should already we should see all of the tricks and the trades of a Fangio defense when he has that long to prepare. The thing I will say about this is, you're right. This Herbert Tua thing that going on, this weird will they, won't they thing. I don't know. I'm not sure they're going to get together in that way. That's not what I mean. I mean more like they are just like, who's going to end up their career on top? It's always been this unspoken thing between those two that was really inflared by what's his name again? The analyst, Jorge.
Which one?
Emmanuel Ancho, right?
Ocho, yeah.
Acho. Yeah, he has inflared this rivalry to like a new level. And then we had those pieces of crap cornerbacks after the game that were saying, oh, defending Tua was easy because all he does is spot throw. He turns around after a play action fake, and he has one place he's going to go with the ball. If it's not open, we have an easy sack. And honestly, in that game, if I had to say that Tua's a spot thrower, in that game, it really looked like it. It really looked like it in that game. Yeah. And so Tua's had an entire year to look at this game and go, how do we, and Mike McDaniel's had a whole year to prepare of like, if they're just going to take away the spot throws, how do we make sure that Tua can still dominate in this game? So I honestly think I trust our coaches more than I trust the Chargers' preparation. I also think our talent, where we have way more talent on the offensive side of the ball than this team has on their offensive side of the ball. So I'm thinking 28-21 situation, or even lower, maybe 28-13 or 17. I feel the Dolphins coming out of here with a victory, but Vegas has us as a 4-point underdog right now.
I thought it was a 3-point underdog. Did they change with that Armstead thing?
It might have moved. It might have shifted because of the question marks on Armstead, honestly.
Okay. So I think I agree with your assessment. I'm always wary when you give such an optimist assessment, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
I think Fangio has, had time to, prepare this game. I think we're going to see a lot of things. We also have Reynaldo Hill, who wasn't that staff last year. So, we know what they were doing last year.
True.
So I think it's going to come down to execution, obviously, and to the players. And Tyreek Hill spoke about it, right? It wasn't coaching; it was an execution. I think they want to show up. So I'm going to say Dolphins 24, Chargers 12.
Yeah. And also, I also think 24-12. That's great. That's great. I don't know why, but I love just NFL storylines, and I love them this early. Put your toes out of the camera, Jorge. He keeps putting his toes in the camera when I'm trying to talk seriously about football here. I love storylines. So this Herbert Tua thing matters more to me than the rivalry against the Patriots. I don't give a shit about how we do against Mac Jones. I just don't. I don't really care all that much against how we do against the Jets. I care about Tua showing up against the quarterback that was drafted behind him and in front of him. I like the Burrow matchup. I like the Herbert matchups. And I love the Jalen Hurts matchup later this year, which would be really interesting. So this Herbert one, he needs to start off his revenge tour kind of with a bang here, okay? He's been doing the jiu-jitsu so he can land better. He's in second year in his offense. Absolutely no excuses going forward for Tua. Go beat Herbert. Go beat Jalen Hurts. Beat Burrow in the AFC Championship game and prove just like in one fell swoop, everyone wrong all at once. You can do that this season. And that's like what I'm really excited about going forward for Tua, because he has the perfect opportunity. And I'm pretty excited about it.
I'm excited. I think this is the most excited I've been about a week 1 game in years, to be honest with you. And I'm always excited.
That's what I'm saying. And it's in 2 days. It's in 2 days. Honestly, 1.5 days. And I'm super pumped too. And I also bought the Sunday ticket this year, Jorge. I shelled out some money for that. And so I get to watch it legally this year.
Very good.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Very proud of you.
Thank you. Well, yeah, thank you. I seemed a little bit backhanded once again, but
it's not. Jesus Christ.
Anything to say on the way out before we?
Nothing. I'm gonna spend this year just building up your confidence so that you know that when I'm giving you a compliment, it's a sincere compliment and not a backhanded compliment. Jesus.
Okay.
The damage I've done on you, son.
You've never been nice to me, and I think maybe that's the issue. All right. Okay. Well, I love you, buddy. Cheers to the new season. I'll see you and everyone else that's listening next Thursday. We're normally going to get this show out a little bit early. I'll see you then. This is the TuAmigos. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.